Robert Dilts. Well, I would say that every book about Robert Dilts has some gold nugget inside it. However, the problem is that you need to go through the whole book before you can find those small gold nuggets. That's kind of my feeling with all of Dilts' books and material. There is always something incredible, but it is like hidden between so many different things that you don't even know if it is applicable or not. Those are really not the books I would recommend to a beginner. And for this one, there are a few things, the modeling with NLP by Robert Dilts, there are a few things that are really relevant, but a lot of the things in the book are, in my opinion, completely irrelevant for practical uses. It's very interesting to understand how the mind works, but in terms of what can you do with that, there is not really much you can do with it. So I wanted to make a short video about some of the essential things I found in this book that were actually applicable, some things you can actually start to use whenever you want to model somebody without having to go through the whole book and figure out for yourself what can be used, what cannot be used, or it would be very difficult to use. So the first thing I wanted to show from this book is the kind of questions you need to ask yourself to select a role model and to better clarify what specifically am I looking for by modeling that person, or how do I know this person would be really relevant to model and maybe the first person I have in mind would actually not be relevant at all. Those questions are: how do you know this person possesses the desired skill? First, how other people know that this person possesses a desired skill? Answering that question will allow your brain to switch into a different perceptual position and get into the mind of other people so that you will have a better idea of what are you actually looking for. What external signs of mastery are you looking for to define that this person or that person actually has the skill you want to develop yourself? So how others would know that the model is a master at what he is doing. Third question, how does the model know himself that he is a master at the competence? Or how would he know it himself? How will you know that you have achieved? Fourth question, how will you know yourself that you have achieved that level of competence? What signs will let you know, maybe internal signs, what signs will let you know that you have achieved this level of competence? Answering that question will really help you to define better, okay, in which direction am I supposed to go with that modeling project? Fifth question, how others will know that you have achieved it? So what are going to be the external signs of mastery? Because if it is just like, oh, I'm a master, yeah, maybe you feel that way, but is it actually proven? Like, is there actually a tangible way to measure how good you have become at this or that skill? And the last one is, depending on the context in which that skill is used, how can you reproduce, how can you train yourself into that same context? Like, if your goal is to be a therapist and to do therapy with people, then just training in front of the mirror is kind of too far away from the real scenario, because you don't have anybody in front of you except your own self-reflect. So if you try to model something but you don't practice the skill into the same or similar kind of environment as the role model is executing the skill into, it is not really relevant, or like you need to adapt, maybe change the model or change the way you want to practice. There is something to change here. So those questions are very important to better define what you want to achieve, what is going to be the best way to achieve that, and from all the things the model is great at, what are the only ones you really need. And the great thing is that once you have answered those questions for yourself, then if you have direct access to the actual model, you can ask him or her exactly the same questions, and that will give you a tremendous wealth of information about what it is that he thinks, what are the things that this person does differently, what are the other details that person pays attention to that are different from yours, and it will help you to define what do you need to focus on to get to that level. And then the other set of questions from that book that I think are really relevant and can be used in real to better define a modeling project or enhance your skills are questions to better target what are the components, how does that skill works specifically. The first question is, in which context do you use the skill? So in the beginning, you answer those questions for yourself, like your current level of competence. If you want to be a great hypnotist and you feel like you're kind of average, okay, still do the process, still answer those questions for yourself, just to understand where are you exactly. You say you're average maybe, but more specifically, what can you do, what can you not do, and what is missing for you, these kind of things. So you ask, in which context do you usually use the skill or attempt to use the skill if you cannot do it yet? Second question, what is your goal when you attempt to use that skill? What are you actually trying to do? What is the end goal you have when you want to do that? You want to make somebody change, you want to create a better career. What is the end purpose of you doing that? If you're not clear about this, you may be completely blinded about what does the role model actually does that is relevant for you. You need to be clear first about what are you looking for specifically. Third question, which signal lets you know that you are being successful or that you are in the process of succeeding? Which signals lets you know that you're starting to make progress? Like if you're modeling a great therapist like Milton Erickson, he's dead by now, but let's say somebody like him, and you ask him, how do you know what you're doing is working? And he tells you, for example, when my client is starting to reevaluate his thinking, maybe it is something you had no clue about. But for now, for yourself, answer that question, which signal lets you know you are being successful? And if you have never been successful yet, maybe you don't have anything. But what can you imagine of what would be a signal to let you know that you are starting to reach success? If you are trying to model something about combat fighting sport, maybe the signal to let you know you're starting to win the game is when you see your opponent tired. Some signal like this, what kind of signal lets you know, or maybe it's internal, what kind of signal lets you know that you're reaching success or getting closer to success? Fourth question, if you had to break down what you do in a series of steps, what would those series of steps be in logical order? If your goal is to model something about therapeutic intervention, covert hypnosis, okay, so when you start, where do you start? You create rapport, for example. Then what do? Then you ask questions to mind-bending questions, for example, to start to confuse the person about his or her problem. Might be the second step. Third step, fourth step. What is the logical sequence of steps you are using? Deconstructing it for yourself will help you to figure out where my process is fucked up. Where do I need to improve? Where do I need to change something? Fifth question, what problems let you know that you are not reaching the goal? Or like what problem lets you know that what you do is not working? What problem lets you know that you need to change something? Maybe when the client is in therapy, maybe when the client is starting to get too agitated and like aggressive and like really defensive, okay, then you need to change something. Or if it is something else, but what kind of signals let you know, oh, right there, I need to adapt, change because it's not working? And this question is leading to the sixth and last one is, what do you do to overcome those problems? And this is where modeling is going to be very extremely important, because what kind of things can you do to overcome the problems preventing you from succeeding is the essence of expanding the amount of choices you have to respond to a specific situation. Whenever what you do is not working, which happens for most people on earth when they do something, when they start to do something, it's not working the way they want. So how many different choices do you have at your disposal to actually change, to actually adapt and aim at succeeding despite the resistance, despite the problem, despite the thing that happened that prevents you from succeeding? How many different choices do you have? For example, myself, if I have a client in therapy and he is stuck, blocked, confused, or don't know what to do, I probably have like 1,000 different choices that I can do depending on what the situation is. And some of those choices are like mix of different things combined together. Whatever, I can always adapt. There is so far I haven't come across any client who can get me stuck for good and I don't know anymore what to do. I always have something in my mind that I can do. So you answer all those questions for yourself, and the thing is then you do the same thing with the role model. If you have direct access, you ask him those questions directly. But even if you don't have access to the role model, you just answer all those questions for yourself, imagining what would the role model answer to those questions. Or if I was asking him directly, what would he be answering? First of all, by doing that, you will train your brain to get into perceptual position, to dissociate and get inside the brain of your model, which is the first technique of modeling. And those questions will help your unconscious mind as well as conscious mind to better figure out, what do I need actually to get closer to the level of that person? What do I need, and how can I go from where I am to where he or she is? All those questions will help your brain to better figure out, okay, what is really relevant for me to do right now and what is completely irrelevant and it's just a waste of time. Probably some things you do right now, if you don't have the level you want, are a waste of time. And how can you highlight those waste time wasters, I think? How can you highlight those? It is easier by modeling somebody else. Just using this process of questioning, first for yourself and then doing the same questioning, but as if you were the role model, it will help you to better figure out, oh, okay, actually I need to do this. Oh, I didn't think about that. Those questions are helping you tremendously to get breakthrough and insights about what you need to do. So those questions, and there are way more than this in the book, and those are just examples. There is also a whole series of questions about the pyramid of logical levels. You know, when you do the identity, the capacity, the beliefs, all those things, you can do that too with modeling somebody and the meta programs and tons of stuff. But I wanted to highlight this one because when you understand this concept, you can do it with any other NLP model, like the logical levels or whatever you want to use. It is just the process of answering a series of questions to better figure out what you are doing, and then answering the exact same questions, but as if you were asking them to the role model. And that process alone will help you to better figure out, what do I need to do right now to get to that level, even if I won't be there tomorrow, but at least I will be closer by better focusing on this aspect, that aspect, etc. And if you want to check it out, I have a program on modeling in the description where I am showing this process and tons of hypnotic tracks to better help your brain to identify with the model and with the skill you want to learn the most and master. This is by far one of my best programs, and you can check it out if you want.